I don't believe it.
I see what you're saying. You're telling me you're recording the call? I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
I
I don't
don't
buy it.
much.
Man, we're gonna try this again.
Yeah, we're
sit,
gonna try this one more time.
sit down and uh, did the show, and it just freaking disappeared. I've always heard that always happened to any YouTube show, podcast, whatever you listen to, has that mystery lost episode. Now we've got ours, so
Got ours,
that's
man. It's
cool.
awesome. Number 609 or whatever it was, but it's cool. Yes, we have the lost episode, man.
Yeah. Digging it out of Skype history someday.
Well, it was amazing, believe me. This is not the greatest podcast in the world. This is a tribute, but it was amazing.
Heck yeah. It's like that old Dave Attell joke. Oh man, 5 minutes after you left, it was awesome. It's never gonna happen again.
That's awesome.
Every time you leave a party, oh man, 5 minutes after you left. So the good news is I haven't done hardly anything new, so I can just go over the last
We
bit of
can
crap.
do an absolute recap, and there's a couple of sporting events to update. Not any I'm particularly happy about, but well, there's one
Yeah,
I'm okay with, but still.
yeah, man. Getting close to knowing who's going to be in the World Series. The last time I checked in on the game tonight, it looked like the Yankees were going to win, but I pretty much looks like it's going to be Houston and whoever comes out of the Phillies
Yeah,
in Padres series.
Philly closed that series out today, so I'm with you.
Oh,
It's
they
weird,
did.
and this is a crappy thing to say, but it's true, man. The playoff field for baseball this year was quite exciting for me, except for two teams, Houston and
Mm-hmm.
Philly, and I'm like, that gummit. I shouldn't be that way about Philly because I really like Bryce Harper. I think we both like Bryce Harper. I think most people like Bryce Harper, and he actually did. I'm pretty sure he hit the. It wouldn't have been a walk off because I think they were in San Diego, but he hit the go ahead. I think in the eighth. So it's like, I like him, so that's cool. But I guess what I'm saying is I can skip the series this year, but that's okay, man. Basketball's going, MLS is going. MLS is hotting up, man. So it's like, all right, we're getting there, man. Playoff time and all that good stuff. And I guess when I was saying earlier that we've got results, some that I enjoyed, some I didn't. I can't believe that Charlotte beat the snot out of the Hawks today, and it just bums me out because Melo was out today.
Yeah.
Darn, excuse me. Us, it's like crap, man. When you play Charlotte and Melo's not playing, you would love to get that win. It's like darn it, but freaking Kelly Oubre, the prettiest boy in Puppet Land, beat the crap out of us. I think you're 24-12 or something like that. It's like, God, man, sit your pretty ass down. Stop it. He's bumming me out, man.
They've just always been that team that just seemed to have our number.
You
There's a
are
lot of
not
teams that
kidding.
have the Hawks number,
You
but
are not kidding. It
of, of,
seems,
of the close of the teams close to this region,
yeah.
it's one of those teams that always seem to play us way better than they play everybody else.
I think you're right, man. And it seems like the conversation that we are having about how, man, when you catch them and Mellow Ball's not playing, dude, you'd like to think you could beat him. I swear, I think we had this conversation last season. Damn, you're exactly right, man.
Yeah,
Pardon
man.
me, it's revenge because I talked crap about Jordan. Michael's all like, well, I took that personally. my team is going to beat the crap out of your shitty little Hawks. I'm like, man, stop it.
Get used to it, bro.
Yeah, seriously, man.
Oh man, stop.
Anytime you say stop with an A and an H, I think it's hilarious. This is Ric Flair. Stop!
It's too sexy. Oh man, I'm still as much as I think the masterpiece it is, the movie Bloodsport is what it is. I mean, that's the best line in history of the world. No, stop.
Van Damme, the fact that they have not, you know, the fact that there's not like an award called the Van Damme just for that scene, it's like, man, you guys are wrong for that. He was brilliant.
Oh man, I freaking just love that movie. I
Yeah,
don't care who knows
it
it.
was dope as crap. That movie's, I love it, man. And speaking of which, just you saying that reminded me of the Robert De Niro, Joaquin Phoenix Joker meme about I am and I'm tired of pretending that it's not, or whatever it is that he
Mhm.
says. I saw one this week that made me so happy, and it just said, "It's De Niro," and he's like, "Are you telling me that Martin Freeman's performance is enough for you to love the Hobbit trilogy?" It's like, I am, and I'm tired of pretending that it's not, because the Hobbit trilogy is not great by any stretch of the imagination, but man, you talk about that Hidden Valley Stench. Now, that place where you just hang out during that movie and have all the positive feelings you can have, man, just pay attention to Martin Freeman, because that guy he is so awesome. I will watch those movies just to watch him play that role because he's incredible. So I was very happy to see that because I'm like, yes, this I understand this sentiment exactly.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Uh, I did wrap up another show that I've been into for the past couple of weeks, and it's not uh, the same guys that did the Dark Side of the Ring, but you can definitely feel the Vice channel knowing like, hey, we got a good thing going, and whether Evan and uh, the guys are a part of it or not, we're gonna rip it off.
Screw
And
you,
so
buddy.
they did the yeah, they did the Dark Side of the NFL, which had some interesting episodes, and I think they did Dark Side of the '90s, which was I pretty much skipped most of those. One of the shows that I've been into this past season is it's called The Dark Side of Comedy, and for the most part, I mean the episodes and who they decided to do was you didn't get a whole lot of new information, but they did episode on it was Chris Farley, Roseanne Barr, Andrew Dice Clay, Brett Butler, Dustin Diamond, Freddie Prince, Richard Pryor, and the two I was the most interested in. Anytime you do a show about Artie Lang, I'm going to be there and check it out. But for the most part, not a whole lot of stuff that you didn't know. It was just fun to sit down and hear guys talk about it. And oddly enough, uh, of the episodes they did, the only people that are still alive were the ladies. I thought that was kind of odd. But they closed out at their season. They picked, and I think they saw the episodes that they had. They said, "This is the best one that we got," and they closed out the season with Maria Bamford.
Yeah.
And man, it was good. It was really really good. It's just good to check in with her to see what she's been up to.
Totally.
And one of the interesting things, one of the points she makes in the show is she's somebody that the type of obsessive compulsive disorder that she suffers from is not and she she says it in a way, and at the first when she first says it you kind of get the eye roll like, okay, nobody's allowed to say anything about your disorder, but that it's true, because she says, people always joke about obsessive compulsion, like, oh, I gotta have all my stuff in a row, I gotta have everything lined up. It's that's not anything to joke about. The obsessive compulsion that I deal with, can you leave your house for 4 days on end? It's not funny. So anyway, the she is unwanted thought syndrome
Hmm.
is what she suffers from, and even to the point where one of the medications she has causes a tremor, and she's like, I don't want to fix that because it helps me. And it was just a really really good episode and well worth anybody's time. I think most of the Vice stuff ends up on YouTube at one point in time or another. I'm sure
Yeah.
this will, and it's definitely worth checking out.
This is what I'm talking about. Because Maria, as you know, because you're the one that turned me on to her, I'd never heard of her before, and it was on it was the Comedians of Comedy, wasn't it?
Yeah, they talk about that, and
Yeah, I was thinking.
Patton sits down and talks with them. That's one
Yeah,
of the things they bring up.
well, that was where I first heard of her, was when you put that on, and
Hmm.
we both cackled like crap, and like, man, who is this hilarious blonde lady? And but that pretty much also, interestingly enough, was that was the end for me with stand up, because I just stand up just bores me anymore because everybody's the same thing all the time. All of them. Even Chappelle is doing sorry impressions of Chappelle now. So it's like, dude, it's all the same shit. But Maria Bamford and Jackie Cation. They're like the only two left that I really like. So Maria is my favorite. So I'm glad you told me that was up because I got to check that out because I loved Lady Dynamite was awesome. And man, what was the other thing? The special from where she did like the stand up show in her parents' living room. That was awesome. And
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell if that was just like a web series or if it ever got released somewhere. But I'm sure those are probably on YouTube
I think
as
that's where I
well.
saw it. So I think you're exactly right. You can
Mhm.
just check it out. And it's she's unbelievable, man. But she's got this one little song that she wrote called "The Dark," and "The Dark" is great. It's an unbelievably good song. But there's this one little break in it where she's explaining like I have unwanted thought syndrome, a lesser known version of obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's interesting. It's like, yeah, man, that's that's like I don't know where I was going with that, except that I guess here's what I'm trying to say. First of all, thank you for
Mhm.
turning me on to this person in the first place. And secondly, I'm glad to know that that show is out there because I did not know. So now I got something I can watch because I love that, love her. So that's awesome.
I, and there's some pretty interesting people that sit down and talk with them. I mean, people that don't show up the whole. And for the most part, most episodes just have like we're going to talk with these guys, but there are a few guys that get peppered in just because they cover a lot of ground in that world and they can talk about this guy and that guy. But for the most part, it was most of the people that sit down and talk on her show. That's the only time you're going to see them. There's like a uh, any other time I could have told you his name. Uh, the what the F guy, Mark.
Mark
Anyways,
Maron. Yeah.
Mark Maron, Patton Oswald, and then there's one of it's not her psychiatrist, but it is a psychiatrist that they put along the bottom of the screen, Maria's friend. So I don't know that relationship, but she makes a lot of good points. But she's got some really uh, funny stories, and Maria herself sits down and talks and explains. I want to say that her stint in psych ward started with a trip to Chicago. That she woke up one day in Los Angeles and it's like I couldn't really form words. I knew what I was wanting to say, trying to say, and knew my act. But when it came time to talk, I was like, what? And so she's convinced by her manager to get on the plane and go anyway. And she gets to Chicago and it just does not go well at all. But she's telling this really funny story because by this time she had uh, had some endorsement deals and had some money. And she gets to Chicago. She has her, uh, for lack of a better term, breakdown that gets her to the psych ward. And she's there in the psych ward. Not, she may say how long she was there, but she just has one of those moments when they let you go uh, have free reign of the outdoors. And she decides, I'm going to go do that. And I think she's out there spinning, doing circles in the rain. And she's out there spinning circles in the rain, gets out of her system and comes back in to this nurse that's looking at her like, you're the target lady. And I don't know why that was so funny to me, but it'll be just as funny when you see it in the show. It's like, you're the target lady.
I took that at first to realize, hey, I know you.
So that's definitely well worth checking out. And uh, it's my other show that's on Vice as well that I've because this does involve Evan and the dudes from Dark Side of the Ring, and it also involves Seven Butt Productions, which is going to get you some notice. But they're finally doing Tales from the Territories, and they're like I think 3 weeks in now. The first 2 weeks they sat down and they told Memphis stories with Jimmy Hart and Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett and
Fantastic.
uh, Jerry Jarrett, and a lot of those stories kind of if you've seen the Memphis Heat documentary, there's not a whole lot of new stuff. But one of the interesting things too is they uh, they tell the Memphis stories, but then Jerry and Andy get their whole a complete episode unto themselves, which deservedly so. So those the first two episodes are really fun to check out.
It's the work that
And
everybody's still trying to emulate.
man, for real,
Still trying to trick everybody like that.
ain't never gonna ain't never gonna come close to that.
Nope.
And so one of the neat things is they they have the episode one is they're telling their Memphis stories, and they get to telling the Mario Galinto story where Jerry Jarrett just tries to rip somebody's eye out and does, but it dawned on me, like I was like, they told all this in the Memphis Heat DVD, which is pretty rare these days. I didn't realize that. I thought you could still get it on High Spots. Apparently, it's gone.
Yeah.
So if you got a copy of it, hang on to it. And it's good. And if you have it, you know. But it dawned on me as he's telling the Mario Galinto story that I think that's on that DVD, but I think it was like a special feature, didn't make it into the documentary proper. And but still, it was one of those kind of stories. Like, man, I feel like I've heard a lot of this before, but still, it's fun to hear some other perspective and other people get to ask questions. Like, wait a minute, did this happen? Uh, but the episode that came out this past week is on the AWA, and I really, talk about a territory that gets forgotten about and doesn't get the credit it deserves. That's one of those territories. As for having a lot of good stories there. I mean, the show that everybody saw on ESPN was pretty boring, but there's some good stories that came out of that place. And unusual. Well, when you hear the first name, you're like, why is that a surprise? But of the people that they get to sit down to talk about the AWA, they have Greg Gagne, Ken Patera, Medusa, and Diamond Dallas Page. And you think, what do these people have any connection? But they make their case and that footage to prove it. Like, yeah, they were there. Okay, but it's not the names that come to mind first when you say AWA. But and the whole reason you have Ken Patera there is everybody wants to hear the McDonald's story, and I have never heard a version of that story from that guy's lips that I buy. Every time he tells the story, it's like, oh, I wasn't even doing nothing. They's mean to me. They wouldn't give me no hamburgers. And but to Greg's credit, he's the one that's sitting there at the table after he finally gets done with the story. He's like, so you're telling me the 18-year-old kid threw a 30-pound rock through that window? And he's basically saying, like, that's horse shit, Ken. You're the one that did that.
It's everyone knows that you're lying, sir.
It's like, no, man, that kid was there, and he said he got fired a few weeks ago, and he just happened to be there the night I was there and threw a rock.
That's a bummer.
And
that's real sad.
They just mean me.
What's push-ups?
Not only does that part of the story is total BS, his story of the cops coming to the hotel room and Saito's there and he's there. He goes to the door and he's like, so we heard you were down causing a ruckus at the McDonald's. He's like, no, that wasn't me. And straight to the cop doing pepper spray. I'm like, that don't jive either. That I don't buy that jump, that leap from they were at the door. The next thing I know, I'm getting pepper sprayed. I don't buy that. You had to do something, say something, be mouthy, whatever. They're going to do more than just fit a description and go straight to Mason you, even in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the shows I've been checking up on this week.
The AWA thing is interesting, man, because I'm with you about how come of all the old territories, that one doesn't get the shine. Mm-hmm. And all I can figure is I know that as far as the tape libraries and things like that, basically from what I understand, when it finally came time for Vern to sell the tapes to Vince, he got every dime plus a couple of more because of all the old Hogan shit. And so it's just, you won't roll over and play dead, and it ticked him off. But the other thing that I've always heard is that Bockwinkel never, ever, ever working for WWE hurt him. Because, with Crockett, you got Flair. With Memphis, you got Jerry. So many of the other ones, Kerry Von Erich. So many of the other huge territories. their biggest guys, including St. Louis, which was like the place. Harley Race hated Vince McMahon more than any other two people put together, but Harley worked there, didn't he? But Nick never
Yeah.
did. Nick said, "Nah, I'm good. I saved my money. Fuck you. I don't need to be your whore." And
Yeah.
that's what I've always heard. Kind of ticked him off a little bit. And I mean, the AWA was okay. It wasn't great, but it's like, well, I mean, it might have been great if I was, seeing it at that time. I thought World Class was great when I was a little kid, so AWA is every
Yeah.
bit as good as that.
Yeah, man.
Excuse me. But on that subject, this is real stupid, but I will tell you that Zombie Sailor did an update a while back that Danhausen's close. Like the actual
Oh,
Danhausen figures have been molded and they are painted, and so now they're going to slap them on a card and send them. And it's
mhm.
pretty great. Like the final, it's weird, but they keep doing this thing. This is probably the third one I can think of, where Zombie Sailor's prototype versus the images when they're actually done. Dude, the shit they're sending you is actually better than the prototype, man. And I'll tell you why.
All right.
I'll tell you why. It's very similar to what it was in the original version. But in the very, very first early days of the Danhausen figure, the makeup and the hair were all black. They have gone and two-toned it, man, because Danhausen, the real kid, his hair is brown. So literally, you've got like the black paint streaking into it, and then the hair is brown. It's fantastic. They have done.
Cool.
It's incredible, man. The other one they've got that's killing me is that new Andre the Giant. That thing is outstanding, and I'm like, don't do this to me, y'all. However, I promise I'm going to make the point that I was going to make. If they ever get around to doing the Von Erichs, I'm going to die. I will probably just die because I think that would be. And you only need three of them. I just need Kerry,
Yeah.
David, Kevin. That's it. But it's like, man,
Yeah.
that would be the coolest.
Heck yeah. Get down with that, man.
Dude, seriously, I keep hoping that might happen, man. Excuse me. I also keep updating or keep checking on them to see what's up with Ricky and Robert because apparently they've signed that contract. They just haven't gone into development on those figures yet because those I'll have to get those. I will have to. Like Bruiser Brody
I
is
remember
very very
hearing that.
cool. DeAndre the Giant's very cool, but Rock and Roll Express I will have to get.
Yeah, man. That's just long, long overdue.
Mm-hmm. Those guys have never. I think they've only ever had one action figure set produced. Two action figure sets produced, and they both stunk, man. So I'm like, come on, come on.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked on that. But any mentions of the Von Erichs immediately puts me in the man. Come on, Zombie Sailor, hook me up. I
Yeah,
go
man.
there immediately.
Yeah, man. That's well, and that's been I think some of the debate when it comes to the Tales from the Territories show is that was like everybody's like, oh, what are they gonna do, man? And maybe they've announced it somewhere, but I've just kind of just kept away from it enough because I like to be kind of surprised and see what's
Yeah,
coming up next.
yeah, totally.
And I'm just into it, and I've been digging the heck out of it, and it's really really good.
That's cool, man. There's a lot of that stuff that I'm with you, man. There's a lot of stuff they could do that, like we said, world class makes total sense. Amarillo, man, do the Funks too. Funks and Von Erichs ain't the same, so you could do both of them.
Mhm.
I think you could do some really interesting stuff in San Francisco with like Pat Patterson and Ray
Yeah,
Stevens. I mean, there's a lot of like legendary cats that came out of there too. Georgia
yeah.
Championship Wrestling. Holy crap! How do you not do the Jim Barnett story? And the other one that I know you and I are both waiting on is Wally Carbo and Great Wrestling Promoter. You totally go to Canada and tell us the Wally Carbo story, man.
He made the price right, ready to you,
And make
and
the
it make the
price.
trip. It's gonna tell some old blood and gut stories from Puerto Rico. But
Oh
you
God, that'd
told the
be
story that everybody wants to hear from down there.
dude. That would be awesome though. You can get Carlito to tell all the stories about his old man. Shoot, dude.
Oh yeah. Spill the dirt.
And I work with this kid. His name's Angel, and Angel has Puerto Rico tattooed on his arm. So I was asking him about it. It's like Puerto Rico, right? And he's like, yeah, man. I said, let me tell you why I love Puerto Rico as much as I do. One, there's a guy named Chacho Santiago whose family is from there, and Chacho's the man. So I have to love Puerto Rico. But the other thing is this, and this goes back to when I was a mere child. There was a guy named Abdullah the Butcher I thought was the scariest human being on Earth. And from the island of Puerto Rico came this one dude who was like gray haired and probably in his 50s and wore a single strap singlet named Carlos Colon, who was apparently, in my 5-year old eyes estimation, the most fearless human being on earth, because that guy beat up Abdullah the Butcher all the time. So I've always thought Puerto Rico is the place where the most fearless people on earth come from, because that guy kicked Abdullah the Butcher's ass multiple times. I just thought that was so cool.
Scared of that dude.
It's amazing. I'm like, how does anybody? That's unbelievable. He's awesome.
No part of that.
No, dude, seriously, are you crazy?
Man, I did watch one of the scary things, because it's that season for the scary stuff is I watched the Werewolf by Night that came out on Disney Plus this past week, and I just dug the crap out of it and love it, love it, love it, love it. And I don't know why. It's the Werewolf by Night was never my book. You know, it was kind of there. It's like, fine, whatever. And I've heard some people, most of the reviews have been to the point where like, man, this is awesome. Everybody, and then the only person I heard say that they didn't dig it that much was somebody that was like really into the book. And I just think they were just being overly nitpicky, but that's their prerogative. And I still think it's worth a look at and tons of fun. And for somebody on the outside, and he made that point too. He said most of the people I know that really like that one-off and told me how good it was. I asked him, like, what's Jack Terrier's your favorite arc of his, or your favorite story? And they didn't have an answer. He's like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, so it's still good. It's still fun. And I just liked it a ton. I even going to and I guess one of the things that got me excited about it again was just the idea that this could be a new Halloween tradition of doing a one-off. And people have already talked about Tomb of Dracula and Monster of Frankenstein and some of these that they could do. And everybody keeps trying to nitpick it and find these ways of, how they're good. They're trying to weave some of these characters into the Marvel universe, like in a 1-hour movie.
Yeah.
Don't look for that to happen.
It's fine. The gigantic, huge, massive Marvel crossover where everybody shows up. We already got that. You don't do that again until it's time to do it again. It's very interesting, man. This entire conversation makes me think of multiple things. One, as far as spooky season, apparently I have decided to make my own new Halloween tradition, which I think I told you about, but it might have been on the show, The Lost Show. But my new Halloween tradition is to download a bunch of Misfits songs and walk around my neighborhood, because there's a lot of people in the town that decorate for Halloween, and it's really kind of cool. And that being said, I understand that what I'm about to say, sorry, is either complete sacrilege or people 100% agree with me. It's just one of those situations that it's like it just depends on who you are. I am of the opinion, I am in the camp that thinks the Michael Graves Misfits is superior to the Danzig Misfits. I love Danzig, love the Misfits, all that stuff is cool. It's just the like horror pop punk style for the Misfits in the 90s, and that guy's voice, and Danzig's got a great voice, but Michael Graves' voice is freaking awesome for that kind of music. I love it. And so the song I've been obsessed with lately is one of their huge ones, man. But if you watch the video, it's even cooler. Dig Up Her Bones is awesome. And here's what happened. I'm watching the video and I'm like, man, this is so cool. And there's so many clips of Bride of Frankenstein in that video. And we talked about it, where it's like, it occurred to me, I think that's the first example I can think of a movie where a sequel is considered superior to the original. It's kind of cool. But the thing I just had never thought about before is that the video's fun. Dig Up Her Bones is a cool video, and it's the Misfits. It's just too much fun. But what did not occur to me until I went back and rewatched Bride of Frankenstein is literally on the next Michael Graves' Misfits album, Famous Monsters, there's a song called Dust to Dust. And the chorus is literally with these final words: I pull the switch, we turn to dust. And then it gets to the bridge, and Michael Graves sings, We belong dead. We belong dead, we belong dead. With these final words, I pull the switch, we turn to dust. It's literally a narration of the ending of that movie. And I can't believe
Yeah.
it never occurred to me till I'm watching it again. And when the monster says, We belong dead, I'm like, that's that song. You've heard that song 1,000 times. How did it never occur to you that that's what he's talking? I love it. It's because I love that movie. Jared can tell you, but through the video, through the power of video, we'll both tell you. I am a Frankenstein fanatic. I love the book. I like most every movie that's been made on that story. I just love that story, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's my guy. It's my character. So to have been listening to that song for years and it never having occurred to me that that's exactly what he's singing about, I'm like, I'm an idiot, but I'm happy now. So at least that part's cool. I like completely hijacked this conversation. Sorry.
No, that's what we're talking about. And I think that's like that's one of my things too. I've got a treat waiting for me on the DVR because every Saturday night at 8 o'clock on MeTV is Svengoolie. Svengoolie this past Saturday night was Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh God.
And
It's
it's TCM's going to be running in a few days too. But I was like, no, I want to watch this version.
yeah, I can totally dig that. But it's
But then, like what you're talking about would always be the Frankenstein guy. I like that character a lot myself, but I've always preferred the Wolfman. When it comes to that, of the Universal monster core group, basically the Monster Squad.
Yeah,
is who I consider the Universal group. Is I just always kind of dug that. You could say it's a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. You could say it's a little bit Incredible Hulk, but it's that kind of dual. Run away before I kill somebody. At least he warns people.
I agree totally. Any exploration of the duality of the individual is like, this is cool. I like this. Pardon me. Darn.
But I think that's one reason why I thought Werewolf by Night was such a good one to start with, just because even though it's technically not Larry Talbot, it's still, name the character whatever you want to. I'm always going to think of it as some relation to the Universal Wolfman.
Sure, man.
And I mean, even down to the reason that the story kind of comes together. It's kind of short, sweet, and to the point. Because I mean, what else do you want them to do? And I could see where people that really love that book, it's like, man, you've only got to call it an hour. It's more like 55, 58 minutes. So there's not a whole lot of time. So what else did you want them to do? And even down to it being in black and white, I thought was so neat because it's not that it's hella gory, but it does give them a little bit more free reign to do some stuff that there's no way they could do if it was in color. And of the characters that are in this story that I think could show up again, seeing the Laura Donnelly character is going to be really cool, and see what they do with her. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? But I'm interested in seeing it. It's straight up. I didn't get the whole Wizard of Oz thing, but nobody has given me a good explanation other than it's just, I think the director of this short is the first time director who was known for being a composer. And I just think anytime you get a chance to work with a studio that has a stroke to get somewhere over the rainbow and you can use it, you're going to use it.
You take advantage of that.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's so cool and it's kind of neat. It's like, man, oh, that was awesome. And even down to when you look at, some people say they saw it in the trailer that dropped. I didn't really watch it that close. When I think I did break down and hit play on it one time, but the monster that they're going after, I think is the big character that people are like, oh man, how's this gonna show back up, and I'm just interested to see what they do with that. And I think it was hella good and tons of fun. And I just hope people are right in the notion that this could be a new trend for every Halloween having a old Marvel horror book that they kind of do a little one-off for. So I'm looking forward to that a ton.
And I completely agree. That is an extremely cool idea, and I hadn't heard that. Pardon me, but I love that idea. That's because, like you're talking about, man, I hate there are people that are huge fans of the book that are kind of pissy about it. But we've talked about that before with tons of the Marvel books, man. If you,
Let them be their own thing.
yeah, if you get too hardcore, but it's not like the book, well, that's a problem. Especially something like Werewolf by Night, because basically what it sounds like is that you're pissed off that your niche comic book got turned into a thing anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think that's a really cool way to do it, and it kind of sidles alongside something you and I've talked about forever. It's one of the reasons Guardians of the Galaxy is so good. It's
Mm-hmm.
because, dude, anybody that's like that psychotically crazy about, no, it's not just like episode 6, nobody says that, which is
Yeah.
awesome. That's great, and they're super enjoyable as they are. But like we've talked about, I've never read a single issue of Guardians of the Galaxy ever, and those are the second one especially is my favorite movie in the entire Marvel universe. And fortunately for me, people that love that book, I've never heard anybody complain about that. And I've never heard anybody that's a Guardians of the Galaxy fan be like, well, the movies suck and here's why, which is kind of cool. So I
Mm-hmm.
hate that's happening with Werewolf by Night, but at least it's not happening too much. But I'm
It's
with you. I hope that would be real cool if they just. I like your idea for the tradition on the subject of Marvel Disney Plus things. I there's this picture. I'm so proud of this. It's so stupid, but I'll tell you. There's a picture making the rounds of what people thought Scar should have looked like in the uh, She-Hulk show he was in. And
oh yeah,
of
yeah.
course, he's like more gaunt and has the long hair and is all like super intense and la di da. And my joke that I left, and nobody got it that I know of anyway, and that's okay because this is an old music reference, and someone's gonna come across it one day and be like, "I like this." But literally, what I said was, "Man, he looks an awful lot like he went looking for trouble." And boy, did he find her! And then the hashtag is little mascara because it looked like Peter Steele from Typo Negative. That's exactly what it looked like. Peter Steele, son of Hulk. I'm like, yes, that's awesome. But somebody,
It's nice.
a lot of the Scar stuff. Somebody made a point that okay, so with Scar, son of Hulk, you now basically have an entire roster of Young Avengers introduced. I'm like, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great, especially. And here I go with, oh, you have to do it like the book. But the coolest element of Young Avengers is who Iron Lad actually is. Now, everybody wants it to be Morgan, and I get that. I understand. And so if you want to go in a new direction, that's totally cool. But in the book, don't mean to ruin it for anybody. Here, I'll put my hand down when I'm through talking about it. In the book, Iron Lad is Kang the Conqueror. It is. That's
Mm-hmm.
who he is. And he literally is trying to build this team to help beat himself in the future because he's seen the future and he's seen what he becomes. He's good guy Kang. That's an amazing element of that story. But you don't have to do that. But if you do, I'm okay with it too. But the other point people are making about Scar is like, are we seeing the scene sewn for World War Hulk? I'm like, that would be great. That would be
Yeah.
great, man. Because as far as everybody still has, at least semi erection for Hulk in Avengers. So what you want is an action movie with the Hulk in it. Okay? Do World War Hulk, man. It's Conan, like we talked about. It's literally Hulk as Conan. Who would not like that? Everybody'd be cool
Yeah.
with that, man. So, all right, if that's where we're headed, that'd be fine too, man. Either one of those
Mm-hmm.
places, I'm cool with.
Yeah. I was very satisfied with the finale of the She-Hulk show, and I was like most people after what we got teased with at the end of episode 5, and we show up for episode 6, and it's not only is it a wedding episode, it's a just Jen episode. I'm like, ah, crap! I was full on Stephen Colbert and the Strange Little Candy movie, like, damn it! But I think that was done by design, and it was like, y'all hold your horses, and
We
Then
got something for you.
on after that episode, I kind of like come to terms that like, okay, they're gonna drag this out. Then you get hanging out with Emil Blonsky retreat episode, which was really kind of cool. And then uh, episode 8, you finally get the Daredevil show up. That episode 8 left you kind of feeling like, well, is this the finale, or are they going to keep going? And sure enough, they did. They came back with episode 9 where they just, I think that episode was titled "Breaking the Fourth Wall" for a reason, because they went full on with it. And I heard some people talking about the She-Hulk show and not liking that part of the story, and I'm like, well, that's kind of you're missing a big part. But anyway, they did a really good job with the finale, and I'm looking forward to whatever they do with that going forward. So I dug the crap out of it.
Oh, this is
And
more of that. I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say when you have an actress like Tatiana Maslany, I mean, it's kind of it made it really good.
One of my favorite, not criticisms of She-Hulk, but slight, not even a negative, just a comment. One of my favorite comments about She-Hulk was that the only negative thing I can say about She-Hulk is that how has anybody ever? You're seriously trying to convince me that I'm sorry, I don't know the actress's name, but the lady you just mentioned, like, you seriously telling me nobody's going to go out with her? Come on! I thought that was a
Yeah,
fantastic criticism to have of She-Hulk. I'm like, man, you're nuts! Come on, look at her. But my thing,
that was a stretch.
yeah, I have not seen it yet, which I'm going to get there. I promise. I'm doing Rings of Power right now, and then when that runs out, I will move to I will probably go to Disney Plus next, so I can watch, so I can get caught up on some of these things because I'm just getting so far behind. And She-Hulk, I really want to see. And honestly, this is kind of
Hawkeye's
horrible.
good to watch over Christmas.
I'm sorry.
Hawkeye's good to watch over Christmas. That's when
Hey,
it's set.
that's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, I need to watch that too, definitely. That, by the way, sorry, not surprising, but in the the commentary about the Young Avengers, Kate Bishop's in there, and I'm like, because I'm
Yeah.
like, everybody's excited about that, and like we've talked about, you and I talked about this, we've talked about it on the show for gazillion times. It's always fun. It's always fun when based off the casting of a certain character, you can be like, ooh, they're going to be around, and that's totally what happened with her. When it's like when you see who they picked to play her in the show, it's like, okay, this is cool. They're gonna, pardon me, they're gonna do something with this. It's fantastic. Anyway, the She-Hulk thing, the more crap that people talked about it, the more excited I got about it. And it just seemed to keep
Yes.
falling off. It honestly just it never really had any. I don't know. It's fine, but the fourth wall thing, from what I understand about the last episode, yes, She-Hulk talking to the audience happens. We've talked about that. But she's done that in the comic for years, and it's fun. It's always really, really cool. But the thing that I love is that the absolute breaking of the wall, where she goes to hang out with Kevin Feige or however you say his name, that's Grant
Yeah.
Morrison's Animal Man, baby. That is one of the like
Yeah.
bedrocks of like 80s experimental holy shit comic book stuff. It's basically when Watchmen started producing children, Grant Morrison's Animal Man was one of them, and
Mhm.
that's amazing. So just the idea that somebody, again, it's like we talked about with, I can't believe that DC let Marvel beat him to the multiverse, and now they let you you let them beat you to Animal Man.
Yeah.
It's just it's sad. It's sad, but one of these days they'll get that stuff. DC will get it right, and they'll have something really, really good. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked on that, but nah, She-Hulk, I'm actually looking really forward to because it's kind of stupid, but part of it is exactly like, to be blunt, I think the actress playing the character is awesome. She just seems super cool, and she seems very
Yeah.
Jen-like, and that was the whole thing about. Oh man, because and it did happen. I mean, there was a God after I guess it was episode 8. Jesus Christ! Every other post on Instagram was like, "Oh my God, She-Hulk and Daredevil had sex! Oh wow!" And it's like, oh God, you have to remind yourself that there are lots of people that are not children in terms of how old they are that are still children. But
Mhm.
if you've ever read the She-Hulk comic, and I have, and I've loved it for years, look, man, Jen's like, let's say it this way, Jen's libido, it's always been part of the story. That has there was a very, especially with the Dan Slott stuff, there was a ton of Sex in the City in what he was going for with that book. So
Mhm.
who cares? I just think that's stupid. Anyhow, I'm glad that Charlie Cox is so excited to be back being Daredevil because he's good and it's nice to have him back. I am really excited about Foggy Nelson hopefully coming back because I think that kid was
Yeah.
awesome. So anything we thought anything Daredevil related, you'll be good. But my big comeback from the Netflix stuff is Jessica Jones. I can't wait. That is going to be very exciting because you and I talked about where like people always argue and bicker over who the best. DC, Marvel really doesn't have any good villains. Marvel needs more good villains. Well, you can always tell the people complaining about Marvel not having good villains obviously skip Jessica Jones because Purple Man is scary as shit. He is
Yeah.
horrifying, and part of it is because it's what's that man's name? David Tennant, who's a very good
Yeah.
actor. But Purple Man is horrifying when you actually take in what it is that he's doing. Horrifying. So I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to that. And Charlie getting to play Daredevil again. Hey man, means all this stuff is on the table. Hopefully. I also saw a thing that Adam Driver has been invited to audition for Reed Richards and Doctor Doom. I thought they'd already cast Doctor Doom, but whatever. Um,
Right.
But it's weird. People are so mad about Jim Halpert's Reed Richards. What are you doing? Oh, they already got Jim. And it's like, that's like going to Spider Man and saying, they've already cast Spider Man, dude. I thought we had
Yeah.
established very quickly that no, there's multiple people playing the same guy, which is totally cool. And I'm a jerk, but I'm totally good with Krasinski getting the boot because I can't stand that guy.
I think him showing up was all you're gonna get from the Doctor Strange movie. He's like, man, no, that was it.
Yeah, I
We're
hope
done.
so. I very much hope so, just because I do not like that guy. And part of it, it's ridiculous, but it ties into what we were talking about earlier. I am tired of hearing about how Jim Halpert's the greatest man in the history of the world when Martin Freeman's version of him is, in my opinion, light years the superior version of that character. But it's, tying into what I said earlier, I love Martin Freeman, so there's that. And I don't want to just crap on Krasinski because he was in that movie with Maya Rudolph, Away We Go. Very, very, very good movie. That's a real good one, and he was very good in it. So it's like it's not he's not in it, but it's good anyway. He's in it and he helps. So I want to be fair. Well, not
Yeah.
fair, but at least put him over. I'm not just trying to crap on him, but now him as Reed, I thought was whatever. I shouldn't say that because I haven't watched the movie yet, which is ridiculous. But there we go. That's why I got to turn Disney Plus on. I need to watch Multiverse of Madness. I need to watch She-Hulk and Hawkeye just in time for Christmas.
Yeah. New favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's Die
Christmas
Hard and
series.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, man. Gremlins.
Oh yeah, man, that's a great point, man.
And I've always thought that has far more of a claim than Die Hard ever did to being a Christmas movie. It's like, nah, man, freaking Gremlins.
The thing about Die Hard being a Christmas movie is that Christmas in Hollis is on the soundtrack. So it's like, yep, you're right. It's a Christmas movie. But now
Yep.
Gremlins totally works because, um, oh my gosh, Baby Please Come Home. I think it's Darlene Love that sang that. I get,
Mhm.
as much as I love that old Phil Spector stuff, man, I cross them up a lot. I can usually keep the Ronettes like, no, that's Ronnie Spector. No, that's Ronnie. But the rest of them, I cross up a lot. But I think it's Darlene Love that did Baby Please Come Home. And if you're watching this and you've never heard Darlene Love's Baby Please Come Home, go listen to it. And if you
Do
like it,
yourself a favor.
if you like it, then go and watch Christmas Time for Jews from Saturday Night Live, which that is also Darlene Love singing it, and it is wonderful. It's one of those things we talked about, man, where when you talk about people making jokes about religions, especially religions that aren't your own, that's dicey territory. But the thing is, Christmas Time for Jews was written by Jewish people, and it's wonderful because ain't nobody making fun of nobody. It's just like, whenever all you guys like go in for your December 24th thing because you're waiting for Santa Claus to come, that's great for us. It's awesome. It's like, such a good joke, man. We love that.
Visions of the Daily Show playing in their head.
Man, it's so good, man. They can eat in Chinatown and drink their sweet ass wine. Sweet ass wine. It's so good, man.
Yeah, man. That's all. That's about all I know what's going on in the world right now.
Man, I've just been watching games again. Like I said, I watched the Hawks today, and it was a bummer, but it happens. And then
Yeah.
the quarterfinals, I think, conference semifinals for MLS happened today, and you had, man, I'm sorry. Philadelphia beat Cincinnati. This was a while back, which is kind of a bummer, but Philly's real good, so okay. And then you had New York City beat Montreal, which really sucked because I was pulling for Montreal. And then the second one this was really quite exciting because it's Austin and Dallas, and it's like, oh my God, you have a playoff derby, man, very cool. And it was exciting, and Austin went nuts for it, and they won, which I guess Austin is who I'm pulling for from here on out. So we'll see. Cincinnati was my guys because they're fun. That's a fun team, but we'll see, man. I mean, MLS is getting the semifinal in the West that they wanted. It's LAFC and Austin, which they've been building for forever. And am I saying that MLS is fake? Yes, because look how many teams win it their second year. We won it our second year. This is Austin's second year. I mean, it's just, but it's fine. I enjoy it, so it's okay with me, man. But LAFC Austin is going to be a lot of fun, and then Philly versus God, I just said it, Philly New York. Okay, Philly New York. It's like the East Coast thing gets a little boring because every sport does the same thing. But anyhow, it's okay. It's exciting and it's quite fun to watch. I don't know. I guess it's cruddy, but I've talked about this before, man, where the upside of Atlanta not making the playoff is that I can just watch everybody play and it's just fun. I'm not like nervous and like, oh God, oh God. So at least it's just a good time, man.
That's some good stuff.
Oh, one other note. This is really cruddy, but I'll say I'll say it anyway. I was really hoping the Falcons would win today. I understand why we didn't. I hate that Joe Burrow remembered that he's Joe Burrow this afternoon. Like, man, you couldn't have waited another week.
Yeah.
But I'll just say it like this. I think it's absolutely hilarious that at least for this early part of the season, because to tell you the truth, what it feels to me like is, oh man, Tampa, they were 1-5. They were in the toilet, and Tom Brady brought them back from. Yeah, that's what it feels like we're building to. And you have to be 1-3 before you can be 1-5, before you can end the season at 11-6 or whatever it is. And that's what it feels like they're doing. But the other thing they could be doing is, don't you think it's real precious that only 1 year after the NBA looked at the Lakers and said, we don't need them, and proved they didn't need him. Now the NFL is trying to do the same thing. We went to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. No, our product is solid. We do not need to kowtow to Tom Brady, but you do. You do. You've already handed the entire league over to the guy because he did the little dance for you on CTE. And I know it sucks. He embarrasses the crap out of me all the time secondhand. I'm not even invested in this. Brady's embarrassing. But I do love the fact their offense is so pitiful, man. It's quite fun to watch Carolina beat Tampa Bay. That was awesome. I love it. I love it, man. And again, it feels to me like a setup where, you can't come back from 28-3 until you're down 28-3. And that's what it feels like. But still, we'll see. But it's fun to watch him fucking flail. But at the same time, you will notice the exact same thing is going on with Aaron Rodgers. And that's my point about how, we're not going to make you do it alone, Tommy. We'll look out for you, Tom. It's just everything. Having to kowtow to this one guy is pathetic, and it's sad, and it's a bummer, man. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
But that's okay because Dallas won, so who cares about anything else?
Yeah. Heck yeah, man.
That is everything. Thanks for letting me gripe about that. There was something else, but I don't remember what it was, and it's not important anyway. But the positive stuff, the good things, and whatever the other thing was, I'm sure it was negative and me griping about something. So we're better off without it, man. This is good.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah. Take it
That's
easy, y'all.
what's
Thank
up.
you for watching.
Heck yeah, man. See y'all.
You.
Bye.